The first is with this integration is a use case around targeted monitoring. So the idea around this is the particular application owner, for example, will be able to accurately understand the both the historical and the immediate nature of their application and what it depends on. And so, this is a picture that, to Ben's to your point earlier, you get a much more granular level of information. You know when sessions are built between very specific workloads, between very specific application functions, between very specific application services, and you can really see and understand not only what those communications are, but in some cases where they might in fact trigger some policy violations, which you can see here highlighted in red. And so, that the ability to give a very scoped view to different application owners allows you to frankly distribute the effort around application dependency mapping, continuity planning. Ben, to your point earlier, cost efficiencies. You can really scope that down and focus and distribute that work out. I think the other area that we're seeing more and more of is really by virtue of being able to generate dynamic information and push that back into the CMDB, we're removing some of the manual efforts that are associated with generating this data, especially among customers who have multiple conflicting sources of data. They have multiple systems of record. You find this all the time in large enterprises, and so this ability to make it continuous and to drive a lot of the static information out of the system and figure out which systems of record really can be frankly expired, and then we have a lot of joint customers with ServiceNow where vArmour is using all of this kind of assessment to drive ServiceNow to be the single system of record. And then, of course, there's just flexibility around discovery itself. So using ServiceNow's discovery for agent-based kind of polling or areas where discovery is really strong, but using vArmour's Relationship Cloud to get that much more granular, continuous assessment and aggregation of dependencies and communication. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I think if we take an industry lens at this a little bit, if you look at where this activity is really the most valuable, and some of our customers that are more widely distributed, so you look at retail customers or financial services, or even manufacturing, there's the configuration compliance piece there is pretty important, right? So there's always somebody monitoring what configuration is going out to what device, especially if you're in the pharmaceutical business or manufacturing business. There's actually, in fact, audits in some cases with the FDA to ask you, hey, what configuration is on that equipment and when's the last time it changed? That would be lab practices for pharmaceuticals I'm referring to there. In those cases, how do I continuously monitor, right? So it's not always the case now where everything happens inside of my little lab, right? I send a lot of stuff up to the cloud now, right? Some of those systems contain sensitive data. Some of them contain data that doesn't matter. It's just sensor data, right? Mm-hmm. It would be really nice as an enterprise architect if I could see all these lab applications that I'm responsible for, if I could tell whether they're actually, the policies I have in place are actually being enforced. If not, then I need to do something. Today, we don't really have a great way to be able to monitor that and ensure the compliance is actually being met during active production versus when I deployed or through a change management request.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And again, it kind of to the point we were making earlier, the integration that we built with ServiceNow is really focused on closing that loop and increasing the automation so that, again, this kind of manual check-in process is eliminated, and instead we promote to the enterprise architect. Sometimes I think the industry is, still working on this, but, resilience drift, right? Or application resilience drift. There are these changes that naturally occur as part of a large digital business. That's in fact, the point we're really trying to make here around speed, control, and flexibility. Customers, expect us to build products that enhance the velocity of the business, not slow them down. And if you have to be checking in all the time, right, you're creating more workload. And instead, our focus, from vArmour's perspective with ServiceNow is, highlight the pieces that are actionable and remove all of that manual kind of work.